Good evening. Welcome and thank you, Carl, for the introduction. And thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts. So it's unequivocal that we're in the Anthropocene era. Anthropos, human being, in the era of the human being, where the human being had an extraordinary effect on the Earth, all over the Earth, the atmosphere, way out in space, and to the extent of the solar system. And there's been extraordinary achievements in that sphere, but there's been tremendous terrible effects on the health of the Earth. And also the wide expanses beyond the Earth, even I'd say. But yeah, it's definitely aptly termed the Anthropocene era. We have a huge effect on everything. If you look at agricultural side of things, we can go back and see the beginning of this Anthropocene era in a way could be seen as the Industrial Revolution. It started to have huge changes and effects on agriculture. And then we could go a bit further and we could say there's been, with the advent of chemicals developed from the wars, and the use of making nitrogen from the atmosphere, and then starting to go to agricultural fertilizers, you could say we've gone through a stage where it's agriculture, there was agri-industry in a way, technology, and then we could say there's another phase that happened that I call agri-pharma, PH pharma, not F-A-R-M, but P-H-A-R-M, great use of chemicals. It was quite interesting to look at the origin of the word pharma, so I have a look at what that. And basically, somebody works with herbs or medicines that can bring healing or poison. Interesting word we use. Pharmaceuticals, you can bring healing or you can bring poisons. And the word pharma came from a Greek nymph, water nymph, and she lived by a poisonous stream. Somehow these kind of beguiling words we have in our languages that somehow come in, something that can bring health and can bring poison. That's what we see in agricultural chemicals. They could go this way or that way. And also they beguiling, again, use the word side. We have pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. The word side means death. We don't say they need death and fungi death. These words that start beguile you into thinking it's okay for agriculture. But we can see it hasn't been that way at all. So what's another way to look at agriculture? But also with the agriculture and at the time of Steiner 100 years ago, agriculture, agri-pharma, agri-technology, all those things there was still the problem that there was declining fertility. Seeds weren't as viable. Things didn't taste as much. Even though it was agriculture, done organically, or with technology, or with chemicals, there was still this underlying situation that somehow fertility was declining. So what's that about? I'll leave it as a question for the moment. But Steiner brought in this biodynamic course, bio, life, dynamic, full of action, some 100 years ago. And what he brought was tested first. So he brought some amazing changes for the renewal of agriculture. It was tested. But more than that, there was extraordinary different thinking, you could say, behind what he brought. A whole different way of looking. So I'm going to give you a nursery rhyme to give you a sense of where I'm going to go with the rest of the talk. I call it talk rather than lecture. If you're more comfortable with them giving a talk. I don't feel like I want to lecture to people. But, so if we look at a nursery rhyme that you've probably all heard before. It's called, starts off Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. So we have to picture Humpty Dumpty as this egg. Not a supermarket egg. You see in drawings of Humpty Dumpty, it's a very animated egg. And a wall, you see a series of bricks. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Then Humpty Dumpty had a fall. So imagine this egg falling down off this brick wall and getting smashed into pieces. So that. Then we have the next part of the nursery rhyme. It says, all the king's horses and all the king's men could put Humpty together again. So we can put together a brick wall, no problem. Human beings have mastered the art of the physical kingdom. We're doing anything with bricks, all sorts of things with chemicals, most extraordinary things we have created. But we can't create a whole egg, a whole life. We can create substance matter, but where's life? And all our thinking tends to be very materialistic, thinking to build everything we think of in terms of bricks, solid matter. We don't think in terms of life and what our actions are towards life. We just focus on the bricks, the parts, the particles, the atoms. But you can't build life out of it. You can't build a living egg, a living whole, an integrated whole. Every part of the whole makes sense and is connected with every other part in it. The whole management, wisdom throughout every thread of it, every thread of the forces that are there in egg and potential. There can also come the question, what came before the egg? Was it a chicken? Or was it egg? I'll leave that question aside for a moment. So I'd like to look at holism. Now I'd like to look what's already there to be seen, if we can see more with our open-hearted mind way. And I want to look at solar research. So quite intense research began on the sun in the 1970s, and then in the early 1990s we sent out solar observatories that orbit around the heliosphere. And quite early on, and there's lots of different ways to observe the sun, all sorts of different instruments, but one of them way of researching was with seismology. So I looked at the surface of the sun, so the heliosphere. Can't really say the sun is the surface, but what appears on the heliosphere as this continual movement. And through the study of through seismology, by looking at acoustical waves, try to investigate what is in the interior of the sun. The sun we associate with light and warmth, and what does physicists see it? So early in the I think it was like 1980s, I remember that they started to talk about the sun having a pulse, a rhythm of 5 minutes. I think it was one of the first pulses they saw. That's from my memory. And the next one was about 3-minute rhythm. So every 3 minutes, or every 5 minutes is a pulse, a rhythmic pulse, an oscillation. So it was already back in the 1980s then. And then they sent rockets out in the 1990s and dedicated observatories around the sun for the SOHO project. It was a joint project with NASA and the European Space Agency. There's an incredible amount of data for many years. I thought these observatories only last a decade at the most, but they went on for a long time. They were quite amazing research projects. And now, 2018, 2022, they're sending further newer rockets to do more research. But already they're finding that not only was there 3-minute or 5-minute rhythm, they now talk about 10 million rhythms of the sun. These sun rhythms, the sun, Earth also responds, not to every one of them, but the sun, Earth is also responding from these rhythms of the sun. And this is bio. This really is bio. You know, we have our heart rhythm, we all know, breathing rhythms, liver rhythms, kidney rhythms. This whole conglomeration of rhythms, of pulses, frequencies. And some of the words used by some of these scientists to describe now one of the rivers of sound. You see the sun as rivers of sound. And even in the early, late 1980s, of describing it, the sun is like a gong. Strike a gong, and there's all these movements. Now, well, there's more rivers of sound. As I see investigation of sound or acoustical rhythms, incredible thing with the sun. Isn't it speaking more than it's just light and warmth? There's something magical about the sun has to do with life. We can sense it. Intuitively know there's something about the sun. So this is there for us to see. There's masses of data that you can strike, masses of bricks. There's us to make a picture out of it, to really see what's really happening there. The Earth is resonating along with many of these rhythms of the sun. You also find out with the stars. There's helioseismology, but there's also astroseismology. Some of the bigger, perceived to be bigger suns, and more like double bases that are playing out there. And the smaller suns, smaller stars, more like little flutes. The whole picture of sound, music even, but harmonies. If I take a different tack now and look at a creation story from the Waterland people. The Waterland people live up in the Northern Territory. And Bill Vidudumahani is one who describes some of these creation stories. I'm just taking an excerpt of it. To give an excerpt, I need to give you a bit of a background to the story. So out in the Milky Way, there's these dark areas, and probably you're all familiar with the dark emus. But there are other gestalt forms out there too. Two of the gestalt forms around the Southern Cross, if you really look, particularly around a July night, they're more like head and shoulder forms. And one of them, Bill relates to, is called Nadi. And Nadi brings a dilly bag of songs. And he gives it to Maud Boronga. This is Maud Boronga. So if you look in the evening stars, when there are all these clouds about, you see the lovely constellation of Leo, the lion. And it's also got a beautiful star called Regulus, one of the four regal stars in the sky, four quarters of the sky. There's the one in Taurus, Aldebaran, there's Regulus in Leo, there's Antares in Scorpio, and there's Fomalhaut in Aquarius, Australis Pisces, Pisces Australis. Four quarters of the sky, there's four major stars. But Regulus, the stars was positioned, we would say, as the heart of the light. This is the star, this part of the constellation of what we call Leo, or the Waterland people, is called Maud Boronga. And Maud Boronga is a creation dog. We could see him as a thylacine, we could see him as a dingo. But we need to appreciate that the carnivores, the dog is a carnivore, is that parts of the animal kingdom have the biggest chests and the biggest hearts. So the story, creation story goes, Nadi brings a dilly bag of songs and he brings it to Maud Boronga. And the star Regulus is called Buju, the spirit fire. And the spirit fire then becomes the source for all the archetypal song lines that are there in the sky. First goes to the crow, Wag, goes right into the great Ursa Major in the northern hemisphere, and he comes up to Cygnus, the bottom of, we see at the bottom of the Milky Way, comes all the way up to Scorpio, goes through the Eagle out there, comes up to Scorpio, and the end of these song lines tend to be between Scorpio, the sting of Scorpio, and the Southern Cross. And between us two is also the great big pregnant Milky Way galaxy, wonderful dark region there. There's another song line that begins more towards the winter time, begins in Taurus, particularly Pleiades and also near the star Aldebaran. And it also ends up there between the Southern Cross and Scorpio, around the galactic center area with those extraordinary dark, magnificent forms that morph through the year, take on different shapes as the year progresses. For me, I was speaking the same story in different language. One was from a solar research observatory, another one's from creation stories from Indigenous people. It's also about life. But as a complement to Nadi, there's another dark form that's Dungdung. And Dungdung, also known as Frog Lady. When you see pictures of Dungdung, Frog Lady, she's a picture, it's a northern territory picture of being the rainy season and these eggs coming out of frogs. Eggs and eggs and eggs, and there's a river of life that comes out of the sound of frogs when the rains come. So, Nadi, the All-Father, in a sense, a masculine image, bringing forces down, musical forces, creative forces. And then you have Dungdung, or Frog Lady. It's an earthly picture of, in a way, a matrix that life can come into. Where the feminine, earth guy is feminine, need a form, or something to receive forces. An egg is something that receives forces. In this picture, for me, it's not so much which came first, the chicken or the egg. Since you need a viable egg. Fertile is not quite the right word. You need something that comes into the forces. So an egg you get in the supermarket is dead, dying. An egg that comes from a chicken that has no relation to another part that makes a whole, then the egg still is going to die. You need the forces of a rooster, or you need forces that come in, and the egg is a matrix to receive those forces. Earth is a matrix. Earth is feminine. Earth is the one that brings matter into substance. The root words of matter, we have matrix. It's feminine. Anything TRX is feminine gender. Earth receives. It has to write something that can receive these forces. It's the two together that are part of the one that bring the whole. You need the Dungdung and you need the Nadi. We need the forces and we need the substance that can receive the forces that we can have life in matter. We have life throughout the universe, but life in matter is peculiar to Gaia. The Earth is only one in the solar system that you have this. There's no life in matter in the other planets. But life in matter is special to the Earth. That's what we're working with biodynamics. We really try to understand, if you like, the feminine principle. We try to understand the forces principle and how to bring those two together. That's part of biodynamics. Bio, life, and the movement, the singing, the sounding, but also the receptacle to receive these forces, to go along with it, to have life in matter. So what we see is we start to destroy the life. We don't see the egg or work with the egg and the counterpart to the egg. So we need to change the way of seeing these things. That's what we strive to do in biodynamics. Now, I referred to earlier that we're an organism, life, a whole. But one thing we don't really consider is this organism, any organism, lives as a life cycle and it dies. It's always suggested there in the agriculture course, and it's suggested in other areas too, besides biodynamics. In the biodynamics course, it talks about silica, or crystals, quartz crystals, silica dioxide, losing its power. Yeah? So it doesn't matter if you're just going agriculture organically, you're still going to face the aspect that the Earth is dying. We're now at peak sunspot activity, or coming to the peak. And with the sunspot activity, the sun darkens. And Steiner suggests that these sunspots will increase. There's a picture of the sun dying, and the Earth will die as a consequence. Even in our mainstream physics, it's recognized that the sun has passed its past midlife. We have to really address what's going on with the Earth dying. Yeah? And also says, as the sun darkens and more sunspots, the weather will become more chaotic. So Biodynamics takes on this aspect of understanding dying and work with it. And how does it do that? So Steiner already makes mention in the agriculture course that the power of silica is waning. Have a look at our ordinary understanding of silica in our ordinary day life. We're all using phones and laptops and so on. There's a silica chip in there. The extraordinary thing about silica, which is contrary to our ordinary materialistic way of thinking, is the smaller you make that silica chip, the more powerful becomes the silica chip, the computer. And it gets ever more smaller silica used in the chip. And it gets exponentially more powerful. And he also suggests that in the agriculture course, maybe it wasn't exactly an agriculture course, but we underrate silica in ordinary agriculture. We think sand, silica, is just there for drainage in our soil. That's an ordinary agriculture what we think of silica. Biodynamic silica is one of the most important preparations. And to make the preparation, we grind it finer and finer and finer as we can. First, it might be just in a little mortar and pestle. You watch out for the dust, it's dangerous. And then might grind between two sheets of glass. And we're always trying to get the silica so fine that it will float. In our technology, we try and make the silica finer even still, far finer than that. Maybe in the future we'll use plant silica rather than mineral silica. Okay, we'll wake up, what is this silica? So we grind it up and put it in a cow horn and bury it in the summer. And the cow horn has a particular shape, it's a vortex shape. And vortices are very, very important in the biodynamic agriculture too, where we stir the liquids that shape the cow horn and move. And that silica is everywhere. I mean, the spiral is everywhere, the vortex is everywhere. You'll see it in Barth Black, you'll see it in the movement of the galaxy, you'll see it in the way the branches spiral around the plant, you'll see it in the DNA form, you'll see it everywhere. It's life. Life is also about form. And what kind of matrix do we need to harness forces? That's one way we see some of these things. But the silica preparation, kind of really, really fine. But silica is not just what we see in quartz crystals. It can exist in fine, fine doses in the air. It can be fine still before it's even physical. That's continually coming in from space. Continually raining in. But somehow the sun dying, the earth dying, the forces are no longer there as powerful. It's slowly waning so we don't notice it. There was a radical change from one year to the next, even one lifetime to the next. We're noticing it. But so slow and so subtle that we don't notice it. There's another part we can see dying. We all know what the smell of an animal is like dying. It'll stink. Plant stink is different. But what about mineral stink? It's in our language. Radioactive decay. The sign of the mineral kingdom is dying, losing its structure. It's dying. We need to realize that to be able to be proactive with that knowing. So we assume radioactive decay is a constant. Steiner suggests, actually it's not a constant. The time when the Earth was young, in her life cycle, young and vital and very fecund, yeah, then there was no radioactive decay. But we can assume the dying picture of a dying Earth, that even the mineral kingdom dying, that the radioactive decay will increase. So we've got to work with this. We've got to understand and find ways of working. So the biodynamic preparations 5-1 working with the, like the Nadi principle, this silica principle coming with light and warmth. I suggest life as well. You have to wait to try and enhance that coming in. It's dying, so we've got to do something to support it. And we've got to make the earth more, help it to be more receptive, more open to receive these forces. And it's the 500 preparations. Preparation made with a cow horn and a cow manure. It's amazing black gold. It's not a bull horn or bull manure we're using, try to use a cow manure. And a cow that still can produce milk. Milk's an expression of fertility. And so is a calf, a regular producer of calf. The cow's the most fertile creature in the animal kingdom there. You have to see that. So in the matter, in the matrix, we work with the feminine principle. Yeah, the mother is most extraordinary. Can bring new life out of herself. That's magic. Extraordinary. Life in matter, the female can do that, bring forth new life into matter. And evolution can continue, that life can continue. You also need other forces. Yeah? The sperm is something very different to the egg. Can we see that? Can we work with it? So there's two key preparations in biodynamics. Work with that two different principles. How can the earth be more receptive in the waning of the forces of the mineral kingdom and every other kingdom of nature? How can we really work with it, take hold of it? First we've got to see it. And how can we support these forces coming in from the cosmos? The whole expanses of the cosmos, not just the sun. And those rhythms. So we work with the silicon preparation and the so-called 5-1 preparation. But we also have other preparations. And these are the so-called compost preparations. So we try to work with universal laws. So you use the laws of form. And part of that is a vortex. Part of the egg shape. It's always a holism. We also try to work with the processes. A particular form has a functional process that it can work with. And one of the forms work is with the inner part of the earth. Preparations are buried inside the earth in a fertile region to enhance some of the preparations. We also work with laws of universal chemistry. So we're used to chemistry, or thinking in terms of chemistry and formulas, and we might have H2O, which we all know is water, but it's not water, it's a chemical formula for water. But if you look at any chemical salt, look at sulfuric acid or any always have whole numbers. H2O or HS2SO4 or something like that. They're always whole number proportions. They're not random numbers. So the laws working in chemistry are universal laws, which we work with. We also try to work with harmonic proportions. You can't just go around spreading some nitrogen and potassium and phosphorus or whatever, which we tend to do, but it makes a very big difference what proportions they are into each other, whether it's harmonic, whether it makes music. So you find that by the preparations we're using particular forms to enable the function to take place or process to take place, but we also use herbs. And the herbs have the wisdom to have the right music between, say, calcium, or potassium, sulfur, or any chemicals that involve that particular herb. They're harmonic. They bring the right relationships that can bring harmony. And they're not vast quantities that are used. It's not about quantity, it's about quality and processes. And magic can make life happen. So these compost preparations are put into a compost heap. They can make harmonize all the ingredients that have gone in the compost heap. So you might make a compost heap in a regular way, but then we organize the compost heap by putting in particular preparations or organs that have a wisdom to work harmonically. And those organs then bring an order throughout the compost heap in a very wise way that can be then receptive to forces coming in from the cosmos, however small they might be. We tend to think in bulk. If you just look at our own organism, we don't change weight radically each day. We don't need to have kilos and kilos of this element or that element. Our weight barely changes from day to day. It certainly changes as we get older, but we don't need massive changes in weight. And all this can come in very subtly through the cosmos. Back in Steiner's day already, he started to talk about what we call trace elements today. He was already awake to them before. What we consider them as more irritants, he said, well, those are actually the most important things. These so-called trace elements coming freely from the cosmos. We don't have to add them. For us, just adding trace elements here and there, we create disorder, disharmony. We don't have the wisdom or the sentientness, but we're trying to make the earth sentient in the biodynamic preparations, that earth can receive what she needs, be open to receive what she needs. And we try to empower the forces that come in from the cosmos to enhance their capabilities, if you like. So we have these two polarities, the 501 and the 500, that are part of one whole, one indivisible whole. To really help what's coming from the cosmos and really help the earth and her beingness. And when this compost pressure try to harmonize the two, it's like poles coming through, like music, if you like, through the compost heap. So you can see the music that's coming through the sun and the stars. You get a sense in story, these song lines that are archetypal. Those song lines also exist on the earth. And we have this picture of as continually as above, so below. There's more than a mirroring. There's vibrating, there's a rhythmic constant, not constant, it's not a good word. There's a rhythmic correlationship that's going through everything. Every bit of the solar system. The solar system organ itself, it's a galactic system. It's going microscopically too. So we come to a situation, to get a sense of life. We've got to learn to, we have to change. We have to get out of our materialistic thinking and start to fertilize ourselves, till our soul life, not just the earth. The journey with the earth is a journey for us to grow, to evolve, to continue our journey. So, I'd like to suggest that the Anthropocene era is not over yet. We're part of a cycle, part of a rhythm. You can say the rhythm's going to last a few centuries and it's been downhill, but the rhythm's probably going a whole lot longer. The Anthropocene era has its own life in a sense. And so far it's been a downhill curve, if you like. But it's not over. It's not over. That can be turned right around. We have to change, we have to grow, we have to evolve. Also try not to see that human being is a static thing that's finished its evolution. We have to see that we are biodynamic. Yeah? We're full of infinite potential. And we haven't finished our evolution. We're human beings in becoming. We think we're a finished product, we must be dead. But if we see Anthropocene as an evolving, infinite potential, that we'll develop organs of perception, but we're still trying to cultivate, to be open to happening for us. And to see over many generations would be radically different. As we're radically different from where we were a few thousand years ago when we first started to develop logic. What else can we develop? Don't see ourselves as limited. Always sees ourselves as unlimited, with infinite potential. So back to Cole said, we don't know what title of the talk was. The title of the talk was Biodynamics. Unlimited. We are unlimited. So what sort of things can we do? What sort of things we can do? Well, for a start, I feel we haven't realized fully, for the most part, the potential of these biodynamic preparations. We use universal forces, universal lawfulnesses to make them. Draw on the whole of the cosmos to make them. Make the earth as receptive as we can. We can do infinite things with universal, powerful things. We don't have to think as the agricultural preparations or the biodynamic preparations are limited to work with the farm or the garden. Yeah, we can work with the forests, we can work with the oceans. Can we be brave enough, bold enough, imaginative enough to think that we can work with the weather too? And I won't use the word manage the weather, but how can we work with the rhythms to assist the weather that's needed for humanity and for the earth and for the plants and the animals? But we have to have a bigger vision, bigger picture. So part of what's younger people and all sorts of people are bringing this new and wonderful and very full of bio and dynamic. And what we can also do with these preparations. And other new ideas that will come forth from all sorts of different people. We have to think beyond agriculture, but we also have to think, what is the human being in relationship to all this? The human being is needed very much so. Human beings are integral to making these changes, but we have to change ourselves to do these things. And if we can imagine the earth, quite familiar with all sorts of healing modalities these days, wonderful cross-disciplines. We have to learn to say, well, okay, I understand the human being a lot as far as health goes. But do we understand the earth and where her some lines are, her meridians, her acupressure points, or anything? We have to understand the earth as an organism and the solar system as an organism. And then we can go on to help the mother, heal the mother. We've got to understand her and where she needs the help and where we can support her. There's all sorts of things we can do. And new things will be coming, all sorts of generations coming. Anyway, we're at the turning point. We're waking up and we're seeking change. We're seeking different ways to do things. You know, the old way doesn't work. Hasn't worked. But it's been good for understanding bricks. And that's also important. But now we start to delve on how to understand life, work with life, and be able to create with life. Thank you.